I didn't build this roll cage for Instagram. I built it to keep my family safe when it matters most. I'm Rob, this is Merle, and this is Venturi Fab. Lately, we've been building at least what I think is a pretty freaking sweet roll cage. So today we're going to get that finished out. We're going to add in our last triangulation bars to triangulate the main hoop to the center spine. We're going to tie these A-pillars into the center spine. We're going to add in our door bars. Our door bars that are later going to become our seat mounts when we do cage mounted seats. And then I was thinking on it, and I'm going to add in some triangulated intrusion bars here on the side, and that's going to do a couple things. We're going to support this big long unsupported span with a couple of bars, and my daughter sits back here, so it's going to add more safety for her in the back in case we like flop over or something were to flop in through here. Right now it's just this big open space, something that could really easily get in there and whack her, and we're going to prevent that with some extra bars in there, plus they'll look cool as hell. So win-win. We're going to start with these guys, and since this is all square the same way, my notcher is still set up for cutting this notch on both of these, so I shouldn't even need to change that. Just pop this up, mark center, notch it, get this one done, and then we can move on to the front. Alright, so we got that one fit pretty close. I need to weld this seam and this one because those are both going to get overlapped, just like the back where you've got all these nodes, they're going to overlap. So wherever they're going to overlap, whatever the bottom base layer of that node is, you need to weld that where it's going to be overlapped. Otherwise, if you just stick everything together and weld over the top of everything, it's not a fully welded cage. It's not as safe as it should be. So we're going to weld that, get this one in, tack it. We'll get this one in, move on to the front. We're going to change our name to Meerkat Fab. Man, it's not even freaking windy today, and here I am, fighting the breeze. No breeze at all. Go to weld, breeze. Every freaking time. So if you missed it, I don't have to do any of these compound notches because these are in the last video. So I'll link to that in the description on how to do those. But that's why we ain't doing them today. Right like that. Oh, yeah, boy. Clean these areas up. Get this one tacked in. We're on to the other side. But you can see, right? So if you're sitting here and you're belted in, you got to come way, even then, if your hips are locked in, and I'm 6'4", right? My wife is not 6'4". Your hips stay in, you ain't hitting this. So forgot. I never tacked this bar in. Well, let's fix that. try that again. Feels safer already. All right, so here's how I set up the door bars. There's just not enough room around here to really film it. So I put two 2x4s on the floor so that my bar would ride flat with the 4. I got a big long chunk of angle iron, and then I clamped this to it to hold it flat so it's totally parallel with the floor all the way down. Then I've got my couplers at the end with the short little junction that we talked about, coped perfectly to this tube and perfectly to my main hoop. The trick with these is we're going to assume it's this side. So whichever side is the roll cage, right? So this is the roll cage. This is the orientation of my coupler on there. So the roll cage side is like that. So the weight of the bar, and once there's seats, sits down on top of it, and the bolt's only job is to secure these two things together. Its job isn't to support the weight like if I had it sideways. If I had it upside down, same thing, and then all your weight's supported on that bolt. This way, your weight is supported by this, which is welded to the cage, and the bolt only's job is to hold them together. So we're gonna go get the other side done, but there you go. Here, let's we'll get this thing free floating real quick. So there we go. And then you can see across, this sits under where this seat is, and then when I do my seats, they're gonna be sitting down lower because I'm tall and my head's like whoop all the way up in that roof. And this should be tall enough where I'm going to run it across. I might need to put a small bump in it, but it should clear my tunnel. But there we are, all free floated. And just to show it clearly, there's the clearance with the door. Nice and even all the way down. So this whole front floor will disconnect, and then this whole rear subfloor will all disconnect. All right, so we're on the last two bars. We just have to tie this and triangulate it into here. So we're going to go where all our diagonals meet. So we're going to make this corner a node, and we're going to join it in right here. So we're going to tape this line out. I'm going to find my angles. We'll notch them, get these last two tubes in, and we're done with this cage. So we are 45, and then just nip the tip so that it can saddle over this because I've got this one welded, and then we'll mark our top, put that one at 45. Probably help if I lined it up correctly. It's like, hey, this is not fitting right. Way more stronger, yo. So here we are. Merle's roll cage is finally done. So as I promised at the beginning, we're going to talk about why my cage is the way that it is. And this is just to the best of my knowledge, right? I'm not a roll cageologist. So if you are and you know better than me and I'm wrong about something, please tell me so that I can improve in the future. Basically, what it comes down to with a roll cage is load transfer, triangles, and nodes. So load transfer is, let's say you get hit in your A-pillar corner, where is that force going to go? Triangles are the strongest geometric shape, so they're going to distribute and absorb that load better than any other shape without collapsing, right? If you have a square and you hit one corner, what do you get? You get a parallelogram of some sort, or a rhomboid maybe even. But if you add a diagonal in the middle of that square and you hit it in the same spot, guess what? Now that square ain't moving. So a node is everywhere a bunch of tubes come together, right? So we've got tube, 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 tube. That's a node. Tube, 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 tube. That's a node. This truck's full of nodes and triangles. You get up to the front. Tube, tube, tube. That's a node. So nodes are like, from my understanding, right, it's like the distribution center, right? So if we get hit on this corner, your impact's going to come right into this joint. So it's going to spread out from there. It's going to go down, and this down leg goes to the frame. It's going to go across down this tube, which is going to hit my node on the other side, which is going to further distribute it down and back. And it's going to hit this diagonal, which will center it, or which will distribute it to this spine and push the load or push the force backwards to my nodes back there. And so you get hit and it just goes in like spider webs through your whole roll cage instead of deforming it. Basically, that's my main understanding of it. So what I did is my best to any conceivable place that you could hit and put that on there. It's going to hit a node and it's going to distribute that load throughout the rest of the roll cage into the frame. The bottom side of this frame is not done yet. That's going to tie into my rear bumper and the sliders, which tie into the frame. So everything's going to end into the frame. This open spot here is intentionally open. What I want to do, I'm going to wait until I make my spare tire carrier, because that's going to go right here. But I want to make this some sort of swing out, right? So that's going to open up and then maybe put like a couple Rotopacks on the back so I can keep like some extra water or some fuel or something. Because I'm a soft top. This isn't a hard top. So if I have some fuel right here, right next to where it's open, in a sealed container like that, I figure it'll be fine. If I'm getting vapors in the cab, then I'll rethink that, but that's not going to happen for a while. Like I said, I want to engineer this, and I'll design a hinge so that this can swing out and around and sit out here. So that way, you could open it up, and if we're out camping, you have like a little cooking top area, or I can set it up for running my laptop if we're doing videos out there. I'm going to have an inverter back up in here somewhere. So still a lot more to come with this truck, but here's where we're at, because we're getting dangerously close to being able to go wheel. All that's left is I need to weld this out. I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to tow it to the shop that I work at, because as you've seen in the building of the roll cage videos, I live on top of a hill and there's no windbreak, and it's like welding in a freaking jet tunnel here. So if I can get it to work, then I can get out of the wind, because all that's going to do, even just tacking it was a hassle doing it with TIG. So I'm TIGging this whole roll cage, bring it to work, then I'm out of the wind. I'm in a more controlled environment. My welds are going to be higher quality. Higher quality welds mean my gauge is going to be safer. My cage being safer means my family's going to be safer, and that's really all I care about. So that's the plan with that. So all we got left to go wheeling is need to order my front drive shaft, which will happen within the next week here, and then exhaust. And my tube just showed up for that, as I said in the last video. So I'm going to figure out when I can squeeze this in on a weekend at work to get it welded. We're going to get this exhaust going this week. And it just dumped a ton of snow up in the Sierras, so we should be playing in the snow in a few weeks here, I reckon. A little bit later than I wanted. I was hoping to hit it in February. Looks like we'll be in the snow in March. It is what it is. Stuff just takes time. It is life, you know what I mean? But we're right there, so oh my gosh, I can't wait. Doesn't this thing look freaking sweet, dude? I'm so stoked with this cage. So stoked. So remember, if you don't get started turning your truck into a big kid jungle gym, you never get finished.